I think that's it.
You did it.
I'm a technology man.
I am a boomer.
No, I am actually a boomer, so I'm very surprised that I got that going. All right.
Proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you. If Nathan was here, he would probably also be proud of me, but he'd have his little stabs as well. So,
dang, where's he?
He is unfortunately very unwell today. So, yeah, but the best part is he let me know about 3 minutes ago. So,
perfect.
Yeah. So that's really good.
Yeah. That's classic Colin. Like that's classic Colin behavior. It's just like 3 minutes forward. I'm not coming in today.
Before like the biggest show you've got.
Yeah, I got a kidney stone once before a show.
What the fuck? Did you actually play it?
No, I went to the hospital. You don't remember? You weren't there, obviously.
No. Oh, I remember hearing
about
the
story. I had to go to the hospital, and then they had one dude jump up and scream nonsense in my place, which was awful.
Have you got it on? Have you got? Is there video footage of this?
I do not believe so.
Damn.
Maybe there's like store it. Yeah, it was. Have you ever heard of Avoid? That band Avoid?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was their vocalist. He just jumped up and like freestyled on my over what I was doing because I was in the hospital.
Were you there when Era came into town and their vocalist sliced at the time before JT sliced his Achilles tendon? And
I was there.
They basically did like a whole set of just people like fans jumping up on stage.
I know I thought about doing it, but I was like, I'm not confident enough in the lyrics and shit. I ain't going up there just making noise.
I think that's before we.
I could have been an Era, dude. What the fuck?
Yeah, for like one song.
No, I could have maybe they were like, man, that guy's good.
And then, we've spent a little bit of time with those guys, and don't worry, you dodged a bullet.
Yeah, I've met him a few times. We like JT. We know JT. The other one we don't.
JT is the homie.
They're great dudes. They actually just announced they're coming back to Australia, which we're pretty pumped about. They're coming back supporting North Lane, and they're bringing Landmarks and Banks Arcade. So that's a pretty sick lineup.
The only one of that, I think you've talked about Banks Arcade, haven't you?
Banks Arcade.
I still haven't listened to them.
They're on UNFD. I don't know if you like them, but try it. Listen to them.
They're like most stuff.
They're kind of
most part.
They're super eclectic. It's pretty hard to pigeonhole.
So it's either you're gonna love it or hate it. It sounds like.
I don't even know if it's that. I think it's more like maybe an acquired taste.
You have to love it because they're on UNFD and you're
usually whether I like an artist or not, for me it usually comes down to like if they're doing something unique or if they're doing something that's very inherently them, they get respect points in my eyes anyway. I'm like, this is, even if it's not my cup of tea,
that's why I hate our band. Not at all. Nothing original about it.
I just like early 2000s rock and metalcore.
It's true. That's all I listen to.
Yeah.
You know what though? In saying that, there's not a whole bunch of bands, because I mean, I guess you guys do have a little bit more of that. It leans to a bit more of that traditional classic metalcore sound. You know what I mean? You don't go too far into the gent stuff. You haven't gone too crazy with the electronic elements and that sort of stuff. There's a lot of merit in that, given the fact that there's not a whole heap of bands that really leans super hard into that classic metalcore sound anymore, like except for the OGs. I mean, like, what is it, like Fit for a King still do it?
And we didn't used to do that. I feel like we didn't really use that older metalcore sound until I was like officially claiming myself as a guitarist in the band, because we kind of used to be like heavy beat down.
We've had
melodic hardcore.
I think we've pretty much done every fucking subgenre in this that there is. We've done deathcore, we've done it all.
It's difficult to keep track of.
Next is we're gonna I know it's not a subgenre.
I play guitar, he screams. Polka. That's what we do.
Polka. Yeah.
We're just trying to I think Between the Buried and Me already did
the
that.
last band that was in here actually showed me some polka music, and I'm like, okay, this kind of fucks. Like it was modern big sounding. I was like, this is cool.
Easy way, just do folk reimaginings of all your songs.
Oh shit!
Yeah. I like folk music.
Well, I think Vikings are in right now. We could do Viking renditions and get that guy.
Kind of look like a Viking.
Like if
you need a bigger beard.
Built my land and fuck me.
Look like I just ate like all the food, the pillage. So we pillaged the village. Everyone's having their fill. Everybody else. I'm eating all the turkey legs.
Everybody in the raiding party is gonna fucking starve because
They're pissed. They're pissed at me.
You ate the food from the boat.
But then I'm like, hey, you're still ripped. You're jacked, bro. I know you have.
Yeah, but do you actually think that? Do you actually think that all the Vikings back in the day would have been that ripped and jacked?
No. Because I know I just saw a video on this. They fucking weren't. They
were malnutritious as fuck, right?
Yeah.
Don't ruin this for me. Don't ruin my homosexual fantasies about Vikings.
That's sick. But yeah, we
take that out, please. Cut that part out. I don't want to get canceled.
We cut nothing.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say we started using more of the like early 2000s kind of Kill Switch, All That Remains, In Flames kind of sound, like actually on the last record.
If I had my way, we would go further back and be more like dark alternative instead of like metalcore.
That's why I kind of like I genuinely would love to see you pick up either like one of those VST MIDI guitars or just like start dabbling with splice and stuff, because I want to hear what that sounds like, because you've been saying that to me for a couple of records now, and I'm like, I'm gonna just continue making, I mean, it's melodic
Deftones fucking.
Well, no, it's just like, there's a lot of different directions you could take that. That's not me musically, but I think it would be cool to see like if you brought one of those ideas to the table, like here's my rudimentary thing, fucking make this.
Yeah,
because I think that could be a cool way to communicate rather than be like make it darker. Like I don't know, I just
do it.
I just make.
I also want to make some sexy music. I've never made a sexy song.
There's no fucking way you're ever making sexy
we
music.
We can make a sexy song.
No, we can't.
What are you trying to say? I'm not sexy?
I think the closest we ever got to that was like Wearing Thin.
We could get sexy.
Yeah, but like, isn't that up to the listener?
Yeah, that's fair. I
mean?
personally hate sexy music, so I don't. All my music needs to be
like Bad Omens is kind of sexy. They got a little in there.
I don't know, man. You got some pretty sexy riffs. You got some sexy riffs.
I'm talking different. I'm not talking
You're talking like 70s porn, like the funky twang, like
only when he's got his.
That's our next sound for sure. I feel like my music is all just like sad kill switch engage music. That's like what I go for in my head.
Kill switch.
It's like emo kill switch. I like that.
I really like sad voicings and like very emotional.
I'm very stuck in the early 2000s, you know.
Super unique. Nobody
else. I'm the only one.
Hey, but as long as you do something well, that's the main thing. If you do it well,
yeah, you gotta be you.
I also think bands that are doing nu metal sounds nowadays just aren't doing it right. I don't know. I haven't heard a lot of.
That's a shots fired.
I guess like Tala would be one that I could consider.
There's a couple of bands that I think.
I guess I would have to. I'm probably never heard every single band doing nu metal now, but I don't know. I think like they take it more of like the heavier route. I like it more the opposite way.
Other than just like Linkin, what's like a couple of your favorite like nu metal bands?
Fuck, bro. Well, and my problem is I'm not. If I'm thinking nu metal, like I'm lumping it all together.
Like Disturbed or
like
Korn.
I like Disturbed, Korn.
Limp Bizkit.
I think
Hoobastank, fucking
Hoobastank was Hoobastank's not nu metal.
I'm saying I'm lumping that all in. I'm lumping it all together because like it was all the music that I was listening to at the time. Like,
yeah.
But yes, like they have some. I will show you a Hoobastank song. I will show you a Hoobastank song after this is over.
Avril Lavigne.
Heavy as fuck.
There are some definitely some heavy. Yeah, they've got some heavy songs and the last album they did though. Because do you ever do that thing where you go through Spotify and you look at a band that you haven't looked at for years and you're like, they dropped an album a year ago or 2 years ago? Hoobastank did that.
Album. I listened to them.
Yeah, well, Hoobastank did that maybe a year or two ago, and it was not good.
Dude, it can't be any worse than the new Avenged Sevenfold. Like, dude, that actually made me sad.
See, I haven't liked Avenged Sevenfold since like 2003, so I haven't.
I mean, it was on a band that I grew up with, like absolutely loving, but I was like, I'll check it out, and I didn't see any of the reviews beforehand because I know that was huge on the internet. Like, oh, look what, and I heard one of their singles, and I'm like, dude, what is happening?
They're just doing it. They're literally just going in and be like, we're gonna do whatever the fuck we
want. Which is also
it's admirable,
pretty cool, but from a music approach.
But I like the approach.
I was just so thrown off because I was like, oh, is this gonna be like Bat Country or something? I'm like, what the fuck is this?
It's never good. That's the thing, and
and they never supported Avenged Sevenfold.
Fans and we get this quite often. Why don't you write songs like this album? And it's like you just can't. You can't go back and recapture the
vocalist of that band is fucking amazing though. For Avenged Sevenfold,
Shadows or whatever.
Dude,
M Shadows.
Yeah.
Okay. Back in the day, there was like a big, and I know we're just really rambling here. We're not even talking anything about Hollow.
Have you ever seen this channel before?
I watched the Jamie Hales one. But the Jamie Hales interview. I've seen your reactions, but I've only seen the one interview. But yeah, Avenged Sevenfold back in the day, he used to scream. Now I'm re-listening to it back. I'm like, now I know why he doesn't scream. That shit sounds painful.
Well, also the older you get, I mean,
well, just the way he screamed. Well, that's not true because Jesse Leach is still fucking screaming, and he's
that's fair.
Doing music just as long or longer.
I think
it's the way he screamed. He actually hurt himself like really bad, so he had to completely cut to singing.
At some point in the journey, from what I understand with vocalists, because I'm a guitar player, I don't actually know. But
I don't even know.
It seems like you have to at some point prioritize your vocal health and figure out what the fuck you're doing if you're going to tour 6-9 months out of the year or something for years on it. Because you're going to just ravage yourself.
Well, once you get bigger and you start doing more shows.
How do you know he doesn't know what he's doing?
No, I know. I'm saying he knows what he's doing. That's the thing. It's like just the amount. I'm talking about singing versus screaming.
Oh, yeah.
Screaming so that your singing's better.
Or like Bullet. The guy from Bullet got nodes, if you remember that, like 10 years ago. Yeah.
I feel like most heavy vocalists from that early 2000s era came out and said, oh, I had to get my throat scraped or whatever it is they used to do to get the throat scraped off. It's so
I don't even want to know if I have. How would you even know? How would you know you have them? I
think you would know. You're just not able to fucking use your voice. You're like, this hurts.
This hurts. Yeah.
That's how you know, Tyler.
Oh shit.
How do I know if my arm is cut off?
Every time I do vocal sucks. No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe you should get that checked out.
I don't want to. I don't have insurance. I'm from America.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Healthcare.
We're all talking about
that. You got way more money than me, and you don't have insurance. So.
No, because it's a fucking scam. I tried to use it. I tried to use it like 6 times. We're like, no. Fuck me, I guess.
You can't use your own insurance.
Yeah,
that's money.
Read the fine print. This isn't covered.
I had a cyst on top of my hand for like a year, I want to say, and it got to the point where it was like moving over one of my tendons. And I play guitar for a fucking living. Like I write songs.
You were unbearable during that period of time,
dude. Well, that also got
like my wrist. We called it. What do we call it? Your hurt
Bill or something.
No, you're like we just kept calling your hurt hand.
Your baby bitch.
Oh, your baby hand. Your baby bitch hand. It's just like
yeah. But that also got paired up with like my body was literally being ravaged by inflammation attacks, and I didn't realize that's what it was. So I was getting it everywhere, like my hand. Like it hasn't really happened since, but that's
now he's just addicted to ibuprofen.
I actually didn't take like any. Well, no, that's not fair. When it was really bad, I had to get the inflammation down, so I would do that. But I'm
so
like,
what you went and got it checked, and they just wouldn't cover it.
Yeah, well, it's not that. It was like anything big that happens that isn't life-threatening, your insurance will go, oh, that's cosmetic.
Yeah, you just have to. So you just have to pay out of pocket. So there's no reason to have insurance except for the
and then
you're paying.
I was paying something like $300-400 a month, and my deductible was fucking $10,000. Yeah, so it's like,
wow.
I think mine's like 6.5.
Just still, it's like, what am I paying?
I'm never like the only thing I really want insurance for is dental, but then like compared to not 10 years ago to now, like they cover nothing.
Yeah,
and it's like And now in America it's just slap on these Insta smiles. Now you don't need to get your teeth fixed. You can't afford that. Just throw on this fake shit over top of your broken ass teeth. You know?
Dental's not too bad.
Dental is the best part of having.
Dental's not. Well, I was gonna say dental's like not.
It's expensive if you're
getting. Dental's expensive as fuck over here if something goes wrong.
Yeah, like I had to get my wisdom teeth out, and that shit was.
Oh yeah, that's
price.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about just regular clean. That's free. That's like if you have insurance, like it's.
Well, I was gonna say even a cleaning is like 150.
Right, that's not terrible.
I don't have dental insurance.
And that's like every 6 months. But if you got to have like your wisdom teeth taken out, which I still have 2 to take out because it was so expensive, I can only get half out. They're like, yeah, I'll just come back in 10 years or so to get the other 2 out.
Get to know Hollow Front. See what's inside of our mouths.
Yeah.
Scrape my throat.
That's what the people want to know.
Yeah,
that's what
great.
the people want to know. They do kind of
want
want
a
to
new
know.
album that's coming out.
Yeah, they do kind of want to know about the music as well, though. You guys
we can talk about that.
Yeah, you guys have dropped a few new ones. Recently just dropped another, which is that gave me, I guess, like a bit more throwback vibes. When it first kicks in,
music,
like Bury Your Dead and shit like that.
Yeah. I saw that comment a few times.
Yeah, like I got the Bury Your Dead comment a few times. So the song's called Breaking Teeth for anybody that's watching this that haven't seen it yet. It's like we have like a couple heavy songs. One of our the bigger heavy songs on the new record. But yeah, I mean, we were kind of going back to what we were originally. If you listen to like our home record EP, like it's very like hardcore-esque, you know.
Yeah,
like,
it's got more of a straight up hardcore.
Yep. And that's kind of like what we've done that. Like we did that with Vagabond, like on our Loose Threads album. There's a song called Vagabond that's very that kind of like same hardcore with like a metalcore touch.
If I'm gonna listen, for me personally, if I'm going to listen to heavy music, when I was younger, I was really into deathcore because of its size, because of its gravitas, because of how fucking sick and heavy it is all the time. And as I get older, I haven't found myself reaching for that palette as often. I found myself reaching for hardcore instead because it's almost even more unadulterated. Just fuck you, I'm angry, and I love that. I love that there's not as many bells and whistles. It's just very direct. Here's how I'm fucking feeling, and you're gonna listen to me. So when we sat down to start writing heavier songs on the record, I'm like, I'm gonna just filter this into. It's also my job is to make sure that Tyler can be successful. So when I'm making an emotion, when I'm making some songs, I need to be like, okay, how is this going to pair with Tyler's voice? One of my favorite things that his voice does is pissed. Just it doesn't have to be super emotionally nuanced. It just needs to be fucking angry. And I'm like, okay, the best genre for this is hardcore.
Be angry.
And that's so for me. That's why that song ended up sounding the way it does. Was to
I was also so when we wrote that song, I told Lee because we were sitting down to write this record, and it was right after Dakota left. So it was, I wasn't angry at him, but I was just angry in general, angry at we
had a bunch of shit happening.
So much shit. I could write a whole fucking book about it. Maybe I will someday, 5 people about it. But so yeah, like when we wrote this song, I was just like, Lee, write something pissed. Because I am pissed, bro. I'm just mad at everything. I just want an outlet, and which is funny because I'm not the person in the band that's like write the heavy song. Like everyone's like, we should have a heavier song. I'm like, we should do a song like this one.
We have an old song on a record from a couple of years ago called Ghosted. That's the bane of his existence now because
it's not the bane of my existence.
It kind of is.
It's not. It's
totally the bane of your existence.
It's not the bane of my existence. I appreciate that fans like that song. That's why we wrote that song.
No, we wrote that song because I forced it down your stupid throat, and you finally did it begrudgingly. And now...
Okay, so back then, we're just a little backstory. Back then, Lee was the producer. He wasn't actually in the band, so we had to pay him money. Pay him money.
Act like you don't pay me money.
We still pay. We pay you more now.
Yeah.
But so we had to pay him money, and so we had like only 10 songs worth. We were gonna do 10 songs. It was like, whatever.
Which we still ended up writing from the ground up, as we always did.
Yeah. But then you're like,
it was like 7 a.m. or some shit, like from not sleeping. It was literally
we started to come through. We worked all day and then all
through the night. And in my fucking tired state, I just started playing an open octave D note. I'm like, this is the next.
I said no. I was like half asleep on the couch. I'm like, nah, dude. Nah, and he's like, I'll give it to you for free. I was like, do it up,
okay.
Right. I mean, the other
Money
reason
talks, man.
He and I both like more...
I don't like the itch more. I like Ghost.
I know, I know, sweetheart. I know. But
That's so condescending.
Oh, you don't know this guy very well. 7 years of this shit.
I'm starting to get the vibe that like you guys are basically like Nathan Johnny. Like,
yeah,
the same kind of.
Been making music for a while, man. It
7
happens.
years.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this in other places, but like Lee is the only other member that's been around since 2016, even though he wasn't in the band. Like he was producing, helping us write and all that kind of stuff. And then as like before Dakota, before Brandon, before Devin, before all those people, like there were multiple other members that filtered in and out, but we were the ones kind of like doing all the work, kind of a thing, you know?
Well, it's my job, my day job is writing music with and for bands. And what makes Holofront different, I guess, is in the beginning, I was taking their sound that they were bringing in, and I was trying to replicate that and be like, okay, I'm going to make better music for this band in the same genre that they are trying to go for. And as time went on, I just started putting my music into the band. I'm like, this is what I want. I think this would be cool. And as time progressed, you get to like Loose Threads era and Don't Fall Asleep, or not Don't Fall Asleep. Our last record, help me.
Oh, The Price of Dreaming.
The Price of Dreaming. That's what I was like, yeah, right. Fuck it. I'm going to just start writing songs that I want to hear. And now we've made it all the way to the new record, which is just like, this is unadulterated. This is the music I would want to hear as a metal listener, which is fun to get to do. But that's been the journey, is like, don't even Still Life was still, I feel like I was still kind of emulating what I thought you guys
right.
needed.
Well, there are parts of it. That's the thing, is like the old guitarist would like bring in a chord progression.
He brought in the piano from Don't Fall Asleep. That wasn't even me. Like, he brought in that idea.
So you didn't do all of it, but I did 90% especially because those were the beginning songs, and towards the back end, like Apparition, Dissect Me, like those songs, you wrote the whole fucking song.
Yeah, we
went with me and you sitting next to each other, being like, all these fucking band members.
Well, is there ever a discussion about you actually becoming a full member, or did it just kind of happen?
We didn't show any.
At the time, my working strategy has changed as I've gotten older. When I was younger, I used to record like 40 bands a year. I just that was out of the desire to stay afloat. And as
every band around here worked with Lee.
And as I've gone through the years, I have accrued more and more royalties from writing music for people. So I could start being more picky, because I'm like, okay, the lights will stay on regardless of if I record music now. So it's like, I'm going to just start focusing on the projects that either I care about or that I believe in or that are already doing well. And through that process, I've been able to just kind of like whittle it down. And now I probably only work with like 10 different artists every year, which is kind of nice.
Well, and also like the dynamic changed, because that record we were produced by different people. So like that's where you kind of felt like you wanted to be
yeah. That was a big part of it too, because I got like at that point, I was being kind of like thrown in as their songwriter, but also for me emotionally, I've told you this, and I think I've said this on like a podcast before, but I was like, this feels like, unlike any of the other bands that I'm writing for, this feels like an extension of me now. This is my music. And it had never felt weird in my whole life to like, here, I'm going to write this band a whole instrumental, go ahead and use it, and we're going to build it from the ground up with vocals now. And that had never felt weird until Holofront, because it felt like at that point it was my project, because it felt like something.
Yeah,
well, and behind the scenes, Lee was helping us get videos made. Like Lee was, it's weird to look back at it now, because you've been in the band for a couple years, like, but like you were almost like our manager at the time.
I was just opening,
because you were helping us get photos taken. You were helping us, like, you facilitated us places to.
I guess it was just more of my friends were the ones who could facilitate that stuff. Like I was friends with Ned. I was friends with Eric. I was friends with all the people.
You shot a few videos.
Yeah, that's fair. But that's because I knew Ned, and Ned taught me.
Yeah.
You know,
I thought you were about to say you shot a few people.
No, I mean, I'm sorry. I know we're Americans, and that might be like the go-to. No, he shot something, like he filmed. I don't know. Maybe that's just the Australian thing.
No,
I'm just kidding. But yeah, so he filmed a few videos, and so Lee was always very, very involved. Even like I remember back in the day, there'd be a couple of times where me and Lee were just kind of like, because we've always agreed, even though we'll bicker and he's kind of saying he's an asshole.
Yeah.
But we're the closest in vision for the band. Okay. And I think that's why we've always kind of stuck together. Like tell him about the airport.
Oh yeah, so this is one of my favorite Holofront stories. So this would have been 2018, something like that.
Mhm.
And I had just connected with a guy from California that I was writing a lot for, and I was in the airport. I was headed out there, and I think I'd sent Tyler the first mixes for Still Life,
the EP Still Life.
Yeah, and I had just finished it before I was about to head out, and Tyler was like, "Well, you and I made this fucking record. Good for us." Like he was still salty that like I had to do
well,
that.
we lost a few members at the same
yeah.
Like Dakota had just joined, but like as soon as Dakota joined up, 2 people quit. So it was like
he thought he was the project was and I told him I'm like never leave the band. There's no point to being dramatic and like quit. As long as you want to make music, I can do literally everything else. I'll make sure that we have the songs, I'll produce it, I'll mix it. If you and I just stick together, Holofront can exist as long as we want it to exist. Because I like working with your voice, and I can facilitate the rest of it. And even at that point, one of my best friends is making all of our artwork. One of my best friends is making all of our videos. And so, like between me and my friends, we can basically do everything. So there's no point to like to worrying about the rest of it. And it's kind of come full circle. We went from expanding the band out and getting a lot of other voices to help us.
Yeah, because once Dakota joined, like his opinion became a big
dude. Keeping a band together is fucking hard. Anybody that's been in a band knows it's fucking hard, especially with all the legal shit we went through with all the touring and so because of all those stresses, people filtered back out. And now it's just he and I again. And it's like,
and I think it could be easy. And I'm sure people out there, why don't they just get new band members? But
we kind of do ish. Like our fill-in drummer, if he lived in Michigan, he would basically be in the band.
Yeah.
I love that man.
How integral to keep it. I mean, obviously I want to work with him on drums and stuff on the next stuff.
Being like, we're not interested in filling roles with anybody who's like basically not a primary writer.
So is it currently the only 2 actual members of you guys at the moment?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. We made that announcement like before the album came out, kind of, and we have like fill-ins in our like the video that you guys watched a couple weeks ago. Had people filling, and that's our fill-in drummer Andrew with the pirate mustache.
And we live in an era where that's not that uncommon. And from my perspective, a lot of the bands that I record, like a ton of the bands that I record, the visionary will be like 1, maybe 2 members. Like they will be the ones who are like basically flying the ship, or however you want to say this. And then you have a bunch of other kind of like session musicians who just play their instruments that go out and play live, which is, from my experience, that's how a lot of bands operate. And we don't feel the need to fill in all of the other roles with official people when it's unnecessary. Like if we tour, if we play live shows, I have a ton of friends who could fill in. Like we've met people for years who can just play those roles if we need them to.
I mean, that's essentially Beartooth as well. You know, it's all Caleb.
Exactly.
And he's just got guys that work with him that know what he's like and know what he wants, and they just do their job. And it's like you said, being in a band is hard. But I don't think the being in a band is hard part is what's difficult for people. I think what's difficult for people coming into a band is they're like, all they can think about is being in a band's fun. We get to write music, play music, and tour music. They don't think about all the other shit, like all the social media stuff, all the logistics, all the gear, all the scheduling, like the money. Is a huge thing.
That money's the biggest thing.
Luckily, I think the other piece to being in a band that can get frustrating is accountability. So it's like if there's one person doing all of the work for 5 people, that one person might quit because they're like, fuck this. You guys suck. Nobody wants to work hard. Nobody wants to do anything. And what's nice about there being 2 people is you know what you're being held accountable to. Tyler, here's your jobs. Lee, here's your jobs. Since that has happened, both of us just get our shit done because it's he and I don't have to complain about somebody not doing something. He doesn't have to complain. He doesn't have to complain about me not doing something because I always do it. I never have to complain about Tyler not doing something because he always does it. So it's like, also just from a pure relationship standpoint, imagine being married to like 4 or 5 people. It's hard. Like just one other person, please. That's all. That's all I want to worry about.
And I think sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think another thing that you said earlier, that the band is an extension of you. That's how I feel. So I'm that deep into it. Like it's soul deep. It's not just.
Yeah, we can't go anywhere now.
Yeah.
We're stuck. We're stuck.
I mean,
making...
like, best example of like a band like that as well, like was Kiss. I mean, yeah, like you remember years and years ago when they first kicked out Peter Criss and Ace Frehley.
Yeah.
And everyone lost their fucking minds going, how could you do this? Like, yeah, and they're just like, Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons are like, we do all of the fucking work. We write all of the music. We do all of the videos. We do all of the
funny as they brought him back in the 90s and then fired him again.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but I think Peter Criss left. I don't think he was actually fired. But
I think if we can circle
very, very true though. That's a very good, like, because you gotta have the business person, you gotta have the creative person, you gotta have, and you both have to have that drive.
We're both a little bit of both too.
Yeah, yeah, which helps because I mean, I suffer with anxiety and all that sort of shit, so I'm all neurotic as fuck all the time. And this guy's like, I'm a robot.
I keep the things within the guidelines.
Well,
I'll break out and he'll be like, chill out. And I'll be like, you're right. Chill out.
You said before, Lee, that you like writing for his voice, and you know, that's you dial in and you just write what you want to hear, but also for his vocals.
It has to be a blend.
Has that changed now that Dakota's not a part of the band? How's your approach changed?
The growing pains in this record was actually very difficult because when I sat down, before I sat down to write this record, because I've done it so many times. I've written full records so many times in my life. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna pull from all those experiences, but I'm gonna see if this works. I wrote up a whole PDF on all of the different songs that I wanted to write, all of the different influences, the producers I was going to collaborate with, the other songwriters that I knew that were going to help. And it was like,
none of that happened.
God damn, this guy is a fucking robot, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, that's just how I view music.
The plan never came to fruition.
It didn't work because that genre would not work without without Dakota's voice. It was gonna, if you've ever heard the genre future bass or like that kind of sound, it was going to be like very, very electronic, very, very feelsy, emo, kind of like that kind of sound. And it would have been. I
still think we could do stuff like that.
We can, but at least in the duration that we had and with I felt like what was working with your voice, we had a couple of songs where I rewrote the verses to work for his voice better. The next song that's coming out after this one, that verse got rewritten to being more of a rock song rather than like a big sweeping interlude kind of.
I like rock more than I do.
I like it for your voice.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
I have that.
My job is to
voice.
take, when bands come here, other than just Holofron, when bands come here, my job should be, okay, what are they good at? What does their vocalist sound like? And how do I set them up for success? How do I make songs that their vocalist can be successful with? How are they going to sound? And if I were to write unadulterated guitar puke, which is what I call it, when a guitarist overshadows a good vocalist, I fucking hate that as like a producer now. Like, my job should be to set him up for success as much as possible. And that's what I want to do moving forward, is just like throw my guitar things in there that I think make music interesting. But when I go back to listen to Killswitch Engage or like any of my favorite bands, they don't have guitar puke. The guitar is there to create a vibe and to be cool, but it's not stepping on the vocalist. It is arranged and it is produced in a way that allows their vocalist to be successful. And for me, that's the life or death of a band.
I think also with bands like Killswitch, with that style of metalcore, it comes from a very, very traditional metal sound, which was always, you know, the guitarists had their moments to show off. But it was all about like the song and the vocalist. All
you need are moments, because if you shred for a horror, I won't even listen to music like that because it doesn't interest me, because I feel like the vocal is such an important human element to the song.
It works for an instrumental band like Calyphy and that kind of, but it doesn't work when you have a vocal.
Yes,
it's just too.
I just don't listen to music like that either.
Right. I super talented, but I'm not like I need a vocalist.
Me too.
I have to. and that's where a band lives or dies with me, is like it's make or break on the vocalist. Like if I hear somebody, I'm like, I don't like that, even if everyone else in the world likes them. It's just my ears like, meh.
Mm.
So,
do you feel any more pressure now being the sole vocalist, or is it more
Christ,
it's a word for
fuck? Yeah, man, I'm terrified. But it's like I just didn't want, and we talked about getting somebody else, you know, we talked about doing that, but you know, and that would alleviate a lot of the stress for me. But I just don't want to build another relationship with somebody that,
you never know if people are going to stick around.
And I'm not saying this against Dakota, but Hollow Front was never his project.
Yeah,
it's not what he was in the project, and he contributed a lot, but it wasn't really what he wanted to do with himself with music. So, and that contributed to all the other factors of all the BS that the band was going through. But I just don't want to introduce something like that again. I think we can do it ourselves.
I think you guys know exactly where you are. You clearly work well together. You clearly know what each other wants. You clearly got a good working relationship where you're going to write for him to help better him as a vocalist.
I'd rather just collaborate with artists. Like I'd rather collaborate with singers and just and have that, like, no boundaries, you know, like if we want to have a song where there's 50% some person that's not even in the band, but he's featured, and I'm on 50%, like I'm down for that kind of stuff. Whereas I wasn't so much before. But I would like to at least know. I don't know. I'm weird.
I mean, not to speak for you, but I think your voice, you still have a lot to learn about your singing voice.
Yeah, I'm not.
I like his singing voice. I think it's fucking cool. And so it's for me
great
to be able to write songs for him if I think it sounds cool. And so when we were working this next one that's going to come out, when we were working on
singing, it's like 75%.
Yeah, and it's like,
wow,
cool, I can work with this. I think it's super awesome. So I'm not gonna, there's no reason to get another vocalist when I think his voice is already cool. It's like, there's no reason to have two cool singers when we already have our process. And like, if we want that sound, we'll get a guest vocalist.
Yeah, for sure. And what is the approach or the mentality when performing songs that Dakota's Cleans were on in the future moving forward?
We've only done it once. We just did it on this last tour.
Well, we didn't do a lot of songs that heat, but we didn't do Wearing Thin. Which
we haven't figured that out yet. So I think we have some friends that could hit the road with us and sing those parts with us.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing, is like when we play live is getting like a bassist that can sing or scream, or both, if that would be preferable. But then we can kind of trade off parts and kind of, it's my most thing is getting breath from, you know, into big choruses. Singing and stuff like that.
It depends on when we hit the road a lot again, because we're kind of scaling things back and doing things differently.
It's just us two, and
it's like if by the time we start touring a lot again, it's when we have another 2 records under our belt or something between he and I, then we might not play those songs as much. Like we have a lot of material before Dakota entered the band from the old days too that people like. So I think it just depends. I think when I'm of the opinion when you're playing live, you should give the fans the best show that they can possibly have.
Yeah.
So if we're getting asked like if for whatever reason, if I really feel the pressure to play Wearing Thin, it is my show, but it's their show. So yes, we'll try to figure that out for you. But a lot of times, like either just looking at Spotify numbers or looking at like anecdotal comments that you see repeating over and over and over again, you just kind of, you know what songs people want to hear and just play those. And if those happen to not be the ones
we did Afflicted okay.
I think we did too.
Towards the end there, we got better.
Yeah.
It was rough. It was, you know, it's a rough without losing someone as good of a singer as Dakota is, you know?
Yeah.
It made us shift quite literally like a whole 180, you know, like just like had to completely abandon all plans and kind of jump ship and swim to shore and kind of build a new society.
When you have a singer as gifted as he was, he can make anything work for the most part. If you deliver him any vibe, his instrument is so refined that in the same way that he could probably scream over anything and make it work. It's more of now we have the journey of figuring out what can his singing vocal do and what kind of things can we pull off with just his voice. But with Dakota, it was effortless.
I think we did some cool things on the record.
I think we did too.
I think
it was the
I don't
process
even
of figuring
think,
it
because
out.
I think I like We're All Left Suffering. I really like that song, but that's not even like top 5 songs on my.
Yeah, that's just like a high energy one.
That one, I honestly thought that was a good bridge.
Yeah,
From
okay.
Dakota. So we released Dakota song first because we released Letting Go first because we wanted to kind of send Dakota off in like a really positive, but you know, it's obviously sad, you know, but
and not a lot of bands get to do that too. So it was,
yeah,
no,
we already
I was going to say it's a really good thing to see from the outside.
Yeah,
you know, like, and I would hope that it gives people a little bit more respect for you guys as, you know, people that were working together with him.
gives fans closure too.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah, for sure.
If you really are invested in Holofront because of Dakota's voice, and there's going to be people out there like that, then if those people really want to hear him one last time, they'll get to. And I think that was important for us.
So yeah, I thought We're All Left Suffering would be a good, because it had singing and it was had heavy parts and it was energetic. So I was like, let's do that as like the first one with me. But there's songs in the album that are, I think, once we started getting towards the end, like Stay With Me, I think that one is it's not like a traditional song of ours, but like that fucking song. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. What's weird is I actually view it the opposite. I didn't think that one felt super. I guess you never said this, but that one never felt super risky for me because it reminded me of Afflicted.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's another song where I'm singing like most of the time. But I think like that song, the song that's coming out next, I think is really good.
Those songs I knew you could pull off even before we did them, at least in those big chorus areas, because of Afflicted.
Right.
Like that song, the main power sections of that song, which did very well for us, was you singing the big power sections. I'm like, I just need to give Tyler big, powerful, emotional moments to sing over.
I'm a real boy now.
Hell yeah.
I mean, like, sorry, go on.
Have you done much sort of, you know, to the extent that you are now, clean singing in the past? Like,
I mean, not well. I mean, I've had my moments, you know. I started like, I didn't start screaming when I was a kid. I was like 9, 10, wanted to be in bands. I was singing, you know, I was like really singing. I was every album, my parents would probably, luckily they were kind of all doing their own thing, but I was allowed to just crank my stereo as loud as I could and just sing. I did that forever, and then I joined my first band where it was screaming and singing, but I wasn't great, you know, and I wouldn't stack myself up right next to Dakota. I don't, you know, and that maybe that's just me, but I think we have totally different sounds. But yeah, I mean, I've done it throughout the years, but not like this. This is because Holofront's the most serious band that I've ever had. So it's like, it's not like I'm just doing this in my local band, you know, and doing it badly and nobody cares because you're at a bar, and, you know, it's a little bit different. There's a lot more pressure because I'm also following somebody like Dakota, you know, because he's so good.
Well, I think what's nice is we're not trying to do what we were doing with Dakota. We're just doing
me.
If we were trying to do, if I'd kept to the old plan, or if I'd kept those verses the same, I think that is when it wouldn't have worked, because it's like, let's do Dakota without having Dakota. Like, no, let's do what works for your voice instead.
I think that's a great approach. That's a great approach. And at least you've got the foresight, and working with so many bands, you'd have the foresight for that. I think the other thing with singers is a singer will, because I did this for many years, you know, like a singer will have an idea of what they want to sound like because of all the artists that they listen to. And you'll try and try and try, but it's like, no, it's not that you can't sing. It's just you don't have their fucking voice. Like, that's not your voice.
He tried to write some of the highest singing parts of all time.
So on our record,
because he had to help out a lot on, because I'm not, that's the thing is I can do the notes and I can record it, and I'm sure that I will practice enough to get good at it live, but like I'm not good at writing melodies at all. Like I did a couple, but like he had to really help. So he was like singing on his, like this mic right here, and just
I am and will never pretend to be a singer. But
you did a good job. I hope. You know, we right.
However, when bands come here and they're like, "What should we do for that?" Like, I'm a pretty proficient like chorus writer. That's something that I feel like is just internal with a lot of us. It's verse writing and bridge writing that actually gets more difficult, and you have to really focus. But chorus writing is like breathing, because it's just like write the hook, and that's, as a music writer and listener, it's like, oh, I can do that. And so for a lot of our choruses, it would be me singing like this, just using my head voice, because I can't actually sing in that register. I'm a baritone. And there's a lot of demos that are in our Google Drive of this exact same songs you're listening to. Maybe
the UNFD podcast is
but there's a lot of versions of our songs where it's just like me singing the chorus instead with my like little Mickey Mouse voice.
Oh my god.
And but what's important is like it's the ebb and flow of like, no, Tyler, the way you're supposed to sing this is you scoop up and then back down and then you put a little tail on it, and you're like, why the fuck would I do that? I'm like, Tyler, because you can't sing every note just perfectly straight. Like you have to throw some, and that
was where I struggled a lot, was like trying to do the little the little ends at the end.
Yep. And but
fuck, I was like,
when you
hate you
when you got it, I think you started getting better at it at the end, but when you got it felt like a part of your own repertoire, which was good.
Yeah.
But I think if I hadn't, vocalists are all very good at impressions because they know their voices so well. And when I'm working with singers who are uncomfortable with writing their own melodies, I find that if they at least hear a human voice sing the melody and scoop in and out, I could sit there and program it all with piano, which I've done to help them lock in with the note. But if I just sing it for them, even if it's dog shit and it's my Mickey Mouse voice, they then can replicate what they think I'm asking for.
Yeah, they've got a reference point. Yeah,
exactly.
That's where I struggle. I struggle with like harmonies. I fucking struggle with finding the harmony note or a counter melody that complements the main line.
Can I give you some advice with that? Because I was in the same boat up until the last year of when I've been practicing.
I would love some.
Weirdly enough, it's actually more about muscle memory and just in your head, just in this. If you can sing in key, you can get to a harmony. So if you just sing your top line and take the first like 2 or 3 notes and then go up the next note that you think you should be starting at and just sing the next note in the key or the next 2 notes and get up to your like minor third, which is where most people start, like upper third or lower third. And then what you'll find is if you start on the correct note, your brain will start to fill in the rest because you're just singing the intervals in the same way that the top line was doing. And then at that point, there'll be like 3 notes where like, oh, if you've noticed, even good harmony writers, they'll have like 3 notes that kind of bother them in a piece of top line. And they're like, okay, I need to just figure these out and I got it. And it's just start at the right place. Just think about what that first note is, and then use that same like that same muscle memory that allows you to sing the top line to sing that, and then you got it. It's not so hard. Also, there are programs out there.
That sounds super uncomplicated.
It's not that's only 2 steps. That doesn't there's
but
also
you draw it out long enough.
You have to explain it well. But there's
I get what he's saying.
Yeah, no, this guy's a genius. That's why I'm just over here like drooling because I don't know what the talking about.
There's also guitar harmony. There's also vocal harmony plugins out there, like from Isotope and Terry's, where you can say, okay, it'll literally just, you can put it on your top line and you can say, I'm in the key of C minor. I want a high third, generate, and it sings it for you. And you can go, okay, the third here sounds weird. I'm going to go to the fourth, or the fourth here sounds weird. I'm going to go to the sixth, or I'm going to use, and then from there, I would just fucking solo the robot voice for Tyler. He would practice it, and then there's your fucking harmony. There it is.
Boom.
Because I'm not always the best at finding harmony.
AI did all of it, the whole album.
I've actually talked to Tyler about, for demos, like, you know how obviously people can AI replace voices, right?
Yeah.
I would love to see if I could whisper scream into a demo I'm writing and train AI to replace my whisper screaming with Tyler screaming and be like, okay, obviously you have to still do this, but this is what it would sound like. And it would, dude, from a demo standpoint, that would be fucking lit. That would be so sick. If I could be like,
Jeez.
okay, and we're singing, like I'm singing my bullshit Mickey Mouse voice, but when I process it, it sounds like him, and I'm like,
put it in his voice.
Idea, like I can just, or when I'm writing for Silverstein or whoever, like, hey, this is my vocal idea, like try this maybe. But usually when I'm working for other bigger bands, it's usually like me and a vocalist, so that doesn't happen as often.
I'm not gonna lie, I pulled out the Chat GPT to help with some lyrics.
Everybody does. Every band who's come here in the last year does.
I only used a little bit, but it helped me out of a jam. I put lyrics that I had already in, and I was like, just help me figure it out, you know.
I've been doing that shit with that fucking dictionary or rhyme zone for years.
Oh,
I
definitely zone.
It's the same shit. It's just
on my hot bar.
If you're not, that's like
the thesaurus
in the early 2000s. Somebody be like, bro, you use the internet to get ideas. Like it's like as technology progresses, you have to learn those tools. Otherwise, you're gonna get left behind.
I'm not gonna lie. That night I needed it because I was literally writing like 4 songs all at the same time, and I was trying to get
which 4? Do you remember?
Under Pressure. Well, that's the other song with Dakota. What was the other one?
You could hold a gun to my head and ask me how that song sounds, and I wouldn't be able to tell you. My brain is mush.
I don't remember all of them, but it was I was like literally had to record them like, and I'm a procrastinator. I just am by nature, man. I do my best work high. Stoned and in the
he's excellent. Line. He takes instructions super well, and he's always super chill if he comes in here a little bit high and we record some vocals. If he's not high, I can tell immediately, and he needs to get high so we can get some shit done.
Yeah, I'm a little more neurotic, a little bit more like, this sucks, I hate it, and I don't want to But yeah, then I get a little.
Do you dislike the studio with vocals? Because I fucking hate it.
I'm just a nervous, anxious person at all times, dude. Okay. Like, it's just fucking awful. I should probably be on medication. But I'm all natural. I'm just taking.
Can I ask you why do you feel like the studio is such a shitty experience?
I love the studio, but it's usually I'm always stoned. So.
I don't know, man. Like I think it's the anxiety of like being the only person that anyone can hear at a given time, and putting such a raw.
How often do you track yourself vocally?
Like by myself?
Yes.
Before I go into a studio? Never.
Yeah. That's why. So if I'm a guitarist, how many guitarists that you know that go into a studio have never recorded themselves before? How often does that happen?
Rarely, because everyone's recording to listen back to it and write.
Exactly. So you're going into a studio session with the idea that I'm going to go in here and make art and have fun and do this cool thing, and I have no experience of doing it to myself, and I have no idea how I'm supposed to sound. You have no reference of how you want to sound because you've never done it. So like, if I went into a studio as a guitar player and had never recorded myself, it'd be a fucking train. Play to this click, get the tone you want out of this thing, and it's. You should develop a little bit of that on your own time.
I prefer being tracked, to be honest.
No. And we'll always work that way, but you will improve as an artist. Your instrument is your voice and a microphone. So refine that in your own time, figure out how you want to sound without the like worry of a producer or your bandmates hearing you. And when you have dialed that in, then you can show up and you figured it out. It's not just about lyrics or emotion at that point. It's also, I have the recording process, and you will it
definitely was easier. The most recent time was definitely easier because we actually did pre-production.
Yeah. So that's something I usually suggest to people who are anxious, or like, I think half of being a producer is also playing therapist. So especially with vocalists are always the most sensitive because it's their voice that is a very sensitive instrument. So it's like trying to make them feel comfortable, and to people who've been here, they'd be like, fuck you, Lee. You just ride my ass and you make me feel like shit when I'm in the booth. But I do that so that everybody's laughing and everybody's just like, oh, okay.
Laughing at you.
Everybody's like, everybody's laughing at you. Like, you suck. I try not to make things too serious when I'm recording stuff if they're feeling bad, because it'll allow them to loosen up and have fun again. And
I get a little
everybody
annoyed. but
fucking everyone does.
I get a little annoyed
It's not
in
a
there,
unique experience.
but for the most part, I enjoy nobody here. Like, I don't like people sitting. It doesn't bother me if people are here, but I prefer just be me and Lee, and we're just kind of riffing.
Art should be.
He talks shit, I talk shit.
It should be a little uncomfortable, if anything. If you go in there and you're not slightly uncomfortable, like
that's... I'm uncomfortable. It's hot as fuck in there.
Well, my point is, when you're making stuff,
and I'm watching all these videos of like people like in big bands like recording just out in like an air conditioned room.
We have an air conditioned live room if you want to do it there, you big bitch.
It just fucks with your voice though.
I like
fucks with your vocals.
Wet. Yeah, so shut up. We have Studio B. We can record up there, but the vibes are off. I like it down here.
Yeah, that's the dungeon, dude.
I have another.
You don't know what time of day it is down here.
I have another studio above my garage that we do live drums and stuff in, and it's got its own little AC stuff. And I don't use it as often anymore because
I use it.
Yeah, you use it more than I do. He doesn't even have to fucking tell me when he's coming over anymore. He can just pop up into Studio B.
Fire up the AC. Let's go.
Yeah, I record features or record shit for the band or covers or whatever.
Well, that kind of links back into the process for our new album. It's like the last couple of records I've been doing mostly MIDI drums because I like that at any point during the process, you can dial in the writing. But the problem is, like, a lot of times with the bands that I work with, we'll write the music from the ground up here together. And then I'll tell the drummer, okay, go play this new thing we just wrote and don't fuck it up and also sound good. So they have no time. So it's like, we might as well just have you throw your ideas down on top of our MIDI. And then if you really want to, you can come back in like 2 months after you've rehearsed these parts and record live. And bands usually don't do that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, everybody has a finite amount of time. And you end up the listeners don't fucking care if the drums are live. Go fuck yourself. Nobody cares. What people care about is how good the songwriting is. And
I mean, technically we had a drummer play. It was just on a mini.
No, but Devin was also a world-class drummer. Like, if you have somebody who's basically a session drummer, they can do that shit. But like, if you have a drummer who comes in and they're just the drummer for the band, they don't drum for other bands. They don't they haven't made it their goddamn life's mission to play the snare drum in the way that I want them to. Like, So for our record, we did it with, we had a drummer from a band that I work with named Nick Hoffman. He plays in a band called Wolf Road. He just came in, sat behind me, and I'm like, here's what I want. You do you. And we were able to just play over parts and move snare drums around and change which cymbal he was on. It was more collaborative because I'm not completely fucked to whatever he played on his kit. And I can't go back and change it, if that makes sense. So we did a lot of MIDI on this record, which was nice.
Well,
I didn't complain about things afterwards.
I'm very excited to hear the whole thing. Like, really excited to hear the whole thing. We've loved everything that we've heard so far, and you know, we were big champions of you guys on the last stuff that you did as well. Like, we thought it was great. Before we wrap this up, though, we've got 2 questions.
All right.
Number one. When are you coming back to Australia? If you can say,
never been.
We've actually never been.
Never been.
We're on an Australian label. But
what is the go there?
I think weren't you guys supposed to play Unified once, and it just because
we've never had an Australian. We've had some European stuff get canceled, but just with the state that the band is in, like, there's a lot of behind the scenes shit. Like, we've talked about a little bit, but like, a lot of our representation is gone, you know. So like, we're kind of back to doing most of it ourselves. So I have no idea when we're gonna.
I think if the need arises and the opportunities arise, and like, we're planning on releasing more music after this album. So as long as the band keeps going and we have the desire to tour, I think that stuff will happen. But I think in getting to places like Australia or Europe, that's going to take specific opportunities that may or may not happen for a long time, depending on if they come our way. I don't know.
I wish that we were getting offers or anything like that, but we just aren't, you know. I don't know. It kind of sucks, and I don't want to end this on like such a dramatic note or like a down note, but I feel like we've lost a lot of people in the industry have kind of lost faith in the band just because of all the problems that we've had, and like our lawsuit and, you know, accident and Dakota leaving, you know, because Dakota leaving, was a big hit. People were like, ooh, I don't know how this band's gonna be able to do anything now, without him, kind of a thing. So we kind of are in a very deep rut.
We're kind of seen as more trouble than we're worth, I think. And for us, obviously, that's not the case.
We're pulling out of it, and I think that we're kind of excited to do it on our own again and kind of figure it out again.
Changing, we started this way, but we could end this way. Changing things to just doing everything that's in our control, which is ourselves.
Yeah.
And between Tyler and I, we could crank out an album like once a year until like I pass away. Like literally, I can put out
literally on his death and make it rip.
Like let's like in a world where I'm only writing Hallfront records, I could write like 3 records a year.
Yeah, that would be
that would actually be.
He's like
making all the lyrics.
That'd be
GPT all the way, man. Just be making all the lyrics.
Yeah, as doing the easy part, which is like the instrumental writing and the producing. Like I don't have to tell a story. I have to set him up to tell stories. But
I gotta tell a story.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just doing what we're able to do between the two of us, and if the rest of it comes or does not come, whatever.
I think that we have at least a solid fan base. We're not like, it's not like we've lost fans. I'm sure we've lost a few, but I didn't see any bad comments about my singing or anything. Like I saw some people say I miss Dakota, but your singing is really good. So
for sure.
I was very surprised because that was my biggest fear. It was like we were gonna come out and they're like, yeah, that guy's not the one, and that sucks. Because there's so much more singing on.
Imagine if we really liked it and just all of our fans hated. Like, okay, well, I guess we're fucked.
And then that might be the end of the band. I don't know, but I'm hopeful because people have liked what we've done. They like the sing. They liked We're All Left Suffering. And so I'm happy. I'm excited for the next song because that's even more singing. And
I think the good thing as well with the whole sort of reactions, YouTube community and playlists and all that sort of like Spotify DJ, all that sort of shit is there are so many new people coming across bands every single day. It's all like, your fan base is all cyclical. If you got some people that like a certain sound, they're going to move on to something else. But other people who might not have heard you guys before or might not have been into that style of vocal are going to come back around and go, oh, I like this. This is cool. So there's 7.6 billion people in the world or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like it's
a few 100,000, like,
exactly.
Yeah. I'm not super worried about that. It's just it's a fear, because it's just.
I think to touch on what Tyler already said too is like I think the fan base that we have is enough for me to keep going, even if it never did grow.
Yeah,
and it's at least somebody is interacting with our music in a way that makes me feel like
enough people give a shit about it that literally I would have no idea that they existed because it's just.
And I think
that's wide. You're just casting such a wide net with the internet.
Without getting too greedy, I even think that's where every artist should want to end up at some point, where it's like the music that I'm making has a group of people following it and listening to it, regardless of its success level. Yeah. And one thing that happens when you are quote unquote in the club or if you're trying to tour, it's like everything gets. Ask him. I'm an unbelievably competitive person. But there's something about making your music competitive and looking at numbers and looking at who's headlining over who. That shit sucks. I don't like it. It's not for me. I don't like that. And if I can kind of like tune all that shit out and just make cool stuff for people who think our shit is cool, awesome. I can do that for eternity. I can do that forever. So even if we never play a show again, but we can write another 15 albums, that would even make me happy. We're definitely going to play again.
Yeah, we're definitely. The whole plan is to get back to touring full time, but
tour was very fun. I will say,
super fun. I got the bug, but it's also
when I got to
just so many opportunities for failure as far as something going wrong.
Yeah, but we have enough failures where I think we've learned from them, hopefully, and we know what to do in the future.
Yeah, I mean, we have at least
that's super confident.
That's how a plane comes with more money, so that's less money to bring home. So it's like it's very tough. The touring world we didn't fare well once we had that big accident,
Yeah.
So like we never kind of recovered because of that. And we're just doing our best, man.
If you think about it, the most important piece is the music, and that's something that we're going to be able to do kind of no matter what.
And we were able to create authentic songs because of that whole situation.
Yeah, I need you to struggle in life more so that our music can stay good.
Everyone, we were writing Boost Threads, and I was having, because I was having like my shit, my shit was good. I'm like, man, I'm really struggling. And then I was like, I just need some.
Well, that's just when you
to happen to me.
That's when you become Bill Murray. Like Johnny's life is so happy now that he just makes song about wiping his ass.
Yeah, pretty much. All right. Well, we steered it back positive again. So I'm going to leave with the final one that we always ask everyone.
All right.
Before you go on stage, okay? You're back together, full touring mode, headline slot at Unified Festival. You got to play for an hour and a half, but you have to go on stage. And before you go on stage, you have to put on either cold, wet socks or cold, wet underwear to do the set. What do you choose?
Socks.
For
sure. What?
Underwear. My man.
How is that? What?
Why would you want wet socks?
You want a soppy cold dick running around on stage.
I'd rather have a wet, because I'm walking around in socks. Why would I want wet socks?
It's like
I'm gonna have fucking blisters.
How many times in your life?
And if it's hot, and we're in Unify, maybe it's hot in Australia.
How many times in your life
have
you got
cool? Balls are cold.
How many times in your life have you gotten your feet a little bit wet and you're like, oh, this kind of sucks, but like whatever, I'm gonna keep going on with my day and walk around and it's not a big deal. How many times has somebody just walked up to you,
same as
sprayed you a hose right in your fucking right in your underwear and gone, go the rest of today like this? I'll guarantee you'd be like, yeah.
I think Lee's just wrong, but he's gonna.
There's no way. There's no way.
Nathan's team socks. I can't stand getting fucking sultana toes and then they start to split and it hurts. But
yeah, I don't want to get
your toes split from getting wet,
because then I gotta.
When they're they get all old and crinkly and they.
Is that some Australian genetics? What's fucking going on?
Well, maybe because the reason that I'm okay with.
I agree.
The reason I'm okay with the underwear is because we'll go for we live minutes from the beach. We'll go for a swim and I'll walk around with wet underwear and shorts for the next few hours.
But you're not wearing jeans.
Yeah, you're not wearing. Who said you were wearing jeans? He didn't say you have to wear jeans. He said you just wet underwear.
You're gonna walk out there with wet underwear with your anxiety
shorts
in this economy?
No,
are you?
No, I'm thinking it's a festival. It's hot as fuck. My balls are nice and cozy.
I'd also like to just establish now. Also, I'm sorry.
Do this if that ever happens. If we ever headline Unify, which is just like a dream.
No,
I will walk out there in wet.
No,
underwear.
you're fucking not.
Yes, I will. This is my.
I know you.
This is my.
Don't
promise.
believe him. Don't fucking believe him.
Don't believe this guy because I've done crazier shit.
I apologize for both of our microphones sounding like Xbox Live from 2007 peaking constantly.
Oh, great.
Our input gains.
Probably would be better if you're going. Oh,
yeah, it's an experience. This is what I also do while I'm playing Destiny. You know, it really gets the point.
Terrible to play with.
Well, dudes, thanks so much for hanging out. It was awesome to get to chat to you, and thanks for being so open about everything. It was fun. It was good. And hopefully we'll see you in Australia one day.
Hopefully we don't get canceled from this somehow.
Trust me, if we haven't already been canceled, you guys are fine.
Awesome.
All right, take it easy.
Thanks heaps, dudes. We'll chat soon. Peace.
See you later.
Stop recording.